You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everybody across this beautiful world of ours. Welcome to Three's a Crowd, the only North East football podcast where we talk Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough every single weekend, right here on Three's a Crowd. We welcome each and every one of you, and we thank you so much for the lovely comments, likes, and subscribes, and all of the support that you keep giving us as we bring three teams together that normally have a bit of banter, a bit of rivalry, and we have a bit of a laugh, and we talk about everything that's happening in the three teams of the Northeast. It's been a massive, massive week. We've had plenty of football. We have got to look backwards. We will look forwards. We will have Troll of the Week, and I will be doing it all besides my great, great men in Mr. Steve Wraith. Good morning to you.
Morning, mate. Morning.
And Mr. Teddy Mackams. Mr. Teddy Mackams, good morning.
Kalimera, good morning. How are we?
Good, bless you. I think you sneezed there. That's what that might have been.
I'm sorry, that was so...
Ted is also in his new location, I do believe. Ted, in the new apartment. Can you believe? Thank you to all of your support. You've made him rich and famous. He now lives in a mansion.
Yeah, right. I apologise.
That's where the money's gone.
Flaky kind of background. No, I bankrolled it after all that money we made on the radio show. I shouldn't say that if Inland Revenue were watching. I made absolutely no, by the way. Yeah, I'm sorry about the background. It's just I'm in the spare room and it's kind of being used as a junk room at the minute. I promise it will look as nice as Rise eventually.
We do apologise.
Sure when I get
We've been waiting for him to become professional for years, and it just still doesn't happen. And then he moves house, and he's just, it's just, you got to put up with the Mackem, don't you? Everybody knows that.
Happy, and that's the main thing.
And it's been, you know what? It actually feels it feels like we're back to normal. And why do I say that? Because Newcastle are winning, Middlesbrough are winning, and Sunderland are losing. I mean, that when we first came together, that's how it was. Do you know what I mean? You had Michael Beale and you had League Ones, and you know what I mean? And it just feels like we're back to normal because the past couple of weeks, Middlesbrough, Newcastle are thriving, and you little old Mackems, you just can't match. You can't match it with the big boys, Teddy boy. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Middlesbrough going to the top of the championship table. Can you believe it? Newcastle also coming off a couple of good wins as well. A massive win against Villa as well. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some refereeing. In fact, we're going to have referees as guests on the podcast today because they don't want to talk to anyone else but us. I'll tell you that. It was an absolute shocking performance for that. We're going to cover that as we look forward and backwards, and welcome each and every one of you in. Let's do it. As Middlesbrough played Monday night against Sheffield United to go top of the championship table, lads. Yahoo! The belief is high. The Swedish meatballs are flowing. It is absolutely all going gangbusters down at the Riverside because Middlesbrough are top of the championship for the first time in absolute long time. The last time we saw Middlesbrough playing this well was under Aitor Karanka back in 2016, where we did get promoted going up second. We will then have an ugly season and then eventually get relegated. And we haven't seen the Premier League since. We've gone through managers such as Gary Monk, Jonathan Woodgate, Tony Pulis, you name it. They've come through the Middlesbrough ranks. And now we have finally landed on Kim Hellberg and we are top of the championship. 16 games to go. And Middlesbrough are starting to dare to believe. We have got a massive game against Coventry tomorrow, which will be, for those that don't follow it, first v second. Middlesbrough sitting in first, Coventry in second, and it's a massive chance for Middlesbrough to increase that gap, not only on Coventry, but Ipswich, who are chasing us in third as well. Middlesbrough seem to have gotten rid of the typical Borougness, as all Borough fans would know, in terms of throwing away games that they should be winning. And that Sheffield United performance was a game that they should have won. They did go down to Bramall Lane, and it was a tough old slog. It was Chris Wilder at his absolute best. He had plenty of sandwiches. He had plenty of complaints. and we still managed to get a 2-1 victory. It was without squeaky bum time, though, as I like to call it, 2-0 up at halftime, and then bringing it back to a goal, to 2-1 in the second half. Patrick Bamford as well, had to be him, didn't it, Borough fans? But then they would get red carded, and we would hold on to a massive victory to remain top of the championship. Teddy boy, you know the championship well, mate. Middlesbrough are 3 points better than this Sunderland team of 12 months ago, mate. And obviously we saw how you guys went, but we're currently first. Now, I will say that we don't have the likes of Leeds and Burnley running away with it like we saw last season. We seem to be sort of around that third. I mean, if we were on the same points as this time last year, we would have been fourth or fifth. But this year, obviously, the same points that we're on now sees us in first. So you can obviously make that what you will. But Middlesbrough, mate, the fans are starting to really believe because of that. We're managing to win tough games, and Sheffield United on Monday night, mate, was a tough game to win.
Yeah, I mean, I know you had your concerns about it initially. I know you're always bullish in your predictions, but yeah, you're always expecting a tough game against them. And they proved that they've still got a bit of quality in their ranks. They're not a bad side by any means, even if their manager is an absolute tatey head. But yeah, listen, I mean, in terms of the points, the way it's working this season, it's a totally different kind of season, like you've already alluded to. Like you're right to say that Leeds and Burnley absolutely were trouncing everybody. Burnley bored their way into the Premier League, not bored their way into the Premier League, which it's proven this season that just doesn't work. What Middlesbrough are doing is so much smarter, and that's build towards it. It's kind of a little bit like what we did as well. In terms of the recruitment is quite savvy. There seems to have been a bit of a change in policy there as well. I'll come back to my take on that because obviously we had the news about Christian Speakman leaving Sunderland this week. But there's parallels there with the way that Middlesbrough are building towards it. Yeah, I don't think you'll go up in the playoffs. I think you will go up automatically. I'm pretty confident of that. But yeah, it's a totally different season, and it's so much tougher. You just now need to try and build on that points difference, because there's always, and it doesn't matter who you are as a club in the championship, you will always go through a bit of a tricky spell towards at some point in the second half of the season. I know you had that sticky patch around about Christmas time, but as injuries occur, as the season gets that little bit longer, it's grueling in the championship. It is weekend, midweek, virtually every other week. So it's difficult. I mean, thankfully, and I'm not taking the mick, maybe a little bit, you haven't got the FA Cup. That's the distraction this time around. Yeah, that's a good thing. And I know Borough love a cup run and all that, but it's just a good thing that that's out the way. Build your points up. You can only win the games that you've got there. I think Ipswich look decent to join you up there at this moment in time. Coventry are just going to bits. I really think that the bubble has burst, the wheels have come off, the rattle's out the pram and everything. It's just Frank Lampard doing what Frank Lampard does best. But like I say, Borough going well, mate. It was a very, very professional performance. I was really impressed again. The football that you're playing is good. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Mogga when he was with us. There's that sort of like bit of freedom to the play. Make that defense a little bit more tough and nasty. Then I think like a good chance of going up as champions, mate. And I really do mean that.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolutely fantastic watch to see how Middlesbrough have gone from losing a manager in Rob Edwards, Steve, from him walking out on the club. Now, not many managers, when they come into a job midway through the season, get to come into a team that was sitting second in the championship like Kim Hellberg did. Obviously, he got to start off in a pretty good spot already. But again, Rob Edwards, he took the Wolves job. He left Middlesbrough without a manager. Kim Hellberg has come in. We did have a sticky patch of losing 4 in a row. He's now turned that into 6 in a row. And it's all looking absolutely fantastic for Middlesbrough. Matty Targett obviously continuing to look absolutely fantastic at the championship level, mate, obviously in that left-back role. But Middlesbrough starting to believe that they can join the 2 other Northeast teams in the Premier League next season, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's positive news coming out of all 3 Northeast clubs this week. Makes a change after last week. I mean, I was very, very down last week, and Eddie Howe was, down as well. But with Middlesbrough at the moment, yeah, there's There's a consistency, which is the word I keep using every time we talk about Middlesbrough this season. You find that consistency, you get those wins, and you just take care of your business and see what everybody around you is doing. And at the moment, Frank Lampard and Coventry are on a bit of a downward slump, but there's no better game to put it right for Frank Lampard and his team than against Middlesbrough. And that could reignite their season, because this game that's coming up, and I know we're going to talk about that later, but this is the game that makes or breaks Coventry's season. If Coventry lose against Middlesbrough, I think they don't recover. I think if Coventry beat Middlesbrough, I think it's a change. It's a big change in the dynamics of this season. But yeah, there's a long way to go. There's nothing decided on the 15th of February, but Middlesbrough certainly have in appointing the right manager, have managed to salvage their season, and that's key, because it could have all gone horribly wrong when Edwards left and went to Wolves. And from your perspective, you've got to pat your owner on the back for once again getting it right. He has got such a really good track record in picking the right managers, and yes, you haven't been in the Premier League a great deal over the last 20 years, but you've had some of the greatest days in your club's fans' lives, with competing for trophies and European football, winning a trophy. It's been a wonderful ride with Steve Gibson, and credit to him for appointing the right man. So yeah, look, we on this show we've got a vested interest. We want to see all three North East teams in the Premier League. It'd be great for us, great for the show, great for the banter. But yeah, well done to Middlesbrough so far. But the job is it's only 2/3 of the way done. The big part of the season is now. We're hurtling towards Easter. I know it sounds stupid, but we're halfway through February now. When you start hitting March, you're starting to look at those weeks of 3 games a week, really, for those kind of championship teams, and that's when the men are separated from the boys, and this is when Middlesbrough have to rise to the occasion. But yeah, you've highlighted the fact that your loan deals from Newcastle and Sunderland respectively have been massively beneficial towards you, and I'm pleased for Middlesbrough that Targett stayed. I mean, Newcastle's back four has been beset with injuries. Now it's the midfield's turn. But yeah, look, Matt Targett, I'm really pleased for him on a personal level as well, to see him having such a great time there. He's deserved it, because he was a good servant in Newcastle, helped keep us in the Premier League. And now, hopefully he'll get the Borough up.
Yeah, he's well loved, I'll tell you that, in Middlesbrough ranks. And there is talks, obviously, of trying to make it permanent. Obviously, Matt Targett is out of contract come the end of the season. Borough fans, Middlesbrough will be holding those discussions. I can tell you that, even if we are promoted, we are looking to keep Matty Targett around, as are Alan Brown as well, stealing a Mackham and a Geordie to go up with. That sits right with me after at least the Mackham stole one of our corner flags, which we never got back. Let's move further into the week. We've got to look at Sunderland and Newcastle games. We'll move on to the next one. And this one was the sackage. I'm going to call it the Sacagawea of Tuesdays, because we thought that whoever lost this game would get sacked, and we were right. But it was Newcastle that would win, and Tottenham would get sacked their manager in Thomas Frank. So it's been a crazy week, but let's look at that. Newcastle obviously managing to get past Tottenham at Tottenham's home ground as well. A 2-1 victory there, and it would see the end of Thomas Frank's reign at Tottenham. It's been... We also saw Ange Postecoglou come out midweek here, Steve, and I don't really want to talk too much about Tottenham because, one, nobody cares, and two, it's just funny. But the big thing for me, mate, is that Tottenham seem to, in our era, and I don't know, it may be correct if I'm wrong, but in our era, Tottenham have always been posing as one of those big 6 top clubs. You know what I mean? But I honestly don't think they are. The way they perform and the way they have been forming and the wages they've been spending on certain players, and Ange Postecoglou hit this nail on the head as well. I mean, when they finished, was it 4th in the league? They missed out on 5th in the league. They missed out on Champions League under Ange's first thing. They then would have Harry Kane leave to go to Bayern Munich. in terms of him wanting to sign players, he went for Mark Gahey. He wanted to get Semenyo. He wanted to get all of these players, and they could not afford the wages. They ended up turning that into Dominic Solanke and 3 teenagers. I mean, they seem to be a top 6 that's posing as a top 6 that isn't really a top 6. And I think Newcastle, honestly, apart from obviously the dip in form that we've seen this season, are rightly in that consideration to take that to be in that top 6 conversation, because I think Tottenham are frauds and I think Newcastle are right there, mate. But big in saying that, massive win for Eddie Howe and the Newcastle lads against Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was great. I mean, big thanks to me mate Ricky Welch, who invited us down as a guest of his in his executive box on Tuesday. It was fantastic. That is the best, and I'll stay this on record again. It's the best stadium in the Premier League. Brilliant, best purpose-built stadium I've seen, and I've been to most of them over the last 5 or 6 years. Ticked a few on the bucket list, and that's how you build a new stadium. It's from everything from I've been at all sides of it. I've been in the home end for a boxing match. I've been in the away end, obviously supporting Newcastle, and now I've been in the corporate, and it's just second to none. But the football, Newcastle needed to win that game after the Brentford defeat. We sat here last week, scratching our heads as to how on earth Newcastle could throw away a game against Brentford at home. But I think the result that Brentford got midweek against Arsenal probably put our result into perspective. But Brentford are no pushovers. We've said, Ted and I this week that in this season that anybody can beat anybody in the Premier League if you let your standards drop. And Newcastle went down there with a bit between their teeth. They clearly had an exchange of words after Brentford and an exchange of views. Those team leaders, the likes of Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn, by all accounts, put their opinions across, and players have listened. And we go to Spurs. It was not the best of first halves. I got slated on social media for saying so. Maybe I didn't put it across properly. We just didn't convert our chances. And I was watching that game thinking, that's 9 chances we've had and we can't score. And we're playing against one of the worst teams in the Premier League, because that's basically what Spurs are at this current time. And they are, and I thought, you're looking at the games as it's progressing. You're thinking, if we lose this game, Spurs go a point behind us, and Spurs are in relegation battle, and we suddenly would be in a relegation battle. That was the way. Yeah. That's the way the table was going to look. So to not only take a lead after being behind, at the end, it was great. And I mean, corrupt officials, we'll come on to that, of course, from the FA Cup match yesterday. But Joe Willock's offside, being offside by, his hair. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. This really does need to be sorted out. But all of that could have gone against Newcastle. It was a great result. It was a great win. Three valuable points, 3 much needed points after the defeat against Brentford. And it led to, the continuation of the sack race, because Thomas Frank, who has been hanging on by his fingertips for the last couple of months, finally fell off the precipice. And I've got to be perfectly honest, the appointment, it baffles me, and it definitely baffles me mate Ricky and all of the other Spurs fans I know. They cannot understand why they have appointed this guy, as an interim. He's got no experience. His track record's awful. We exchanged a message, I think, in our chat about that. And it almost looks like Spurs have given in. I really, really don't understand it. But yeah, great result. Positivity returned after that, and obviously it continued yesterday in the FA Cup. But for a team that can't win a game when they go a goal down, for a team that can't win a game without Bruno, and for a team that can't win on the road, it's been a good week. Two games, 2 wins.
We will talk about that Villa one, but I just want to get your thoughts, Teddy boy. Obviously, because of the Thomas Frank sacking, we both thought that if Newcastle had lost this game, it wouldn't have been pretty for Eddie Howe. I think we still would have seen Eddie Howe within the job, but obviously I think it would have gotten uglier. But Newcastle managed to get the massive win. It would then see the end of Thomas Frank. Just your thoughts, mate, quickly on Tottenham and their ability to completely keep Tottenhaming things up. I mean, Thomas Frank was a fantastic manager at Brentford. And I think one of the things with Thomas Frank was he would go on and lose 3 to 4 games at Brentford, right? But no one would talk about it because then they would go and win maybe 3 or 4, again. And they would just sort of bounce around that middle of the table. And I think it's easy to forget that Thomas Frank, for all the good stuff he did at Brentford, jumping up to the levels, that Tottenham wanted without the money that they had behind him. I mean, we saw Brentford even beating Tottenham quite easily this year, you know what I mean, with their new manager. So your thoughts, mate, on the Thomas Frank sacking, but more importantly, obviously Newcastle getting a vital 3 points, which made Sunderland's table look a little bit hotter.
Yeah, Thomas Frank is not a good manager, mate. Oh. I'll start with that. He's not. He's a Danish Graham Potter. We're being hoodwinked into thinking certain managers are good managers when it's actually it's the recruitment in the back room that should be taking the credit for it. I think it's you look at Brentford this season where the set-piece coach can actually step in and manage to the same levels, if not higher, than what Thomas Frank was doing. And look at Brighton's success. I'm not saying they're a successful club because they haven't won anything, but in terms of their position and what they're capable of in the Premier League, they're doing absolutely fine without Graham Potter, who everybody wanted as England manager. He got the Chelsea job on the back of it, which was a job that was far too big for him. Absolutely far too big. He's a championship manager at best. And Thomas Frank is exactly the same. They're very fortunate to have had really good people around them. And that's where Spurs just seem to continually make the same mistakes. Spurs are not a top 6 side. Let's dispel that myth already. They're not even. I'm going to go out on a limb here. If there's any Spurs fans, they're going to absolutely go for me after this. But I honestly don't care. They'll be all crying anyway. So honestly, Spurs aren't as big a club as Sunderland or Newcastle. And you only look at you only have to look at how many times they've won the league to actually realise that they're a good cup side historically, and it took them long enough to win another cup, which they did last season. But other than that, what have they done? They've fudged around in like sort of mid to sort of upper reaches of the Premier League table for years. They've done nothing, done absolutely nothing. So for me, nah. I'm not buying.
Are they bigger than Middlesbrough? Are they bigger than Middlesbrough, Ted?
Nah.
They've won a few more cups. They've won a few more bits of silverware. But honestly,
have they though?
In terms of mentality, Steve, they've got a small club mentality, and I'll explain what I mean by that. And it happened towards the end of Ange's tenure, when Spurs fans were cheering that they were getting beat by Man City because it meant Arsenal would win the Premier League. How small time is that? that for me is just. Remember that. You want your club to win a game, regardless. If a win for us was good for Newcastle United, I wouldn't give a stuff as long as it's a win for us. That's what I look at first and foremost. It's my own club, not what's going on around me, which, with all due respect to you, gentlemen, but for Spurs fans to be cheering that is absolute small time. That is Stevenage Borough kind of like mentality. So Spurs for me, not a big side at all. If anything, I was kind of pleased just to see everybody unloading on them and giving them a hiding. The best thing that could happen for the Premier League is maybe for Spurs to go down. Yep.
It's honestly going to be incredible to see. And they are obviously flirting with that relegation zone now, and it's going to be interesting. And as Steve alluded to as well, the talk out of Tottenham is that this new interim manager, which has been given the job to the end of the season, is not filling them with any excitement whatsoever they're going to get out of that.
He'll not last as long as a bag of Tudor, will he, Steve?
No.
We don't care. It's a Northeast pod. Well, all 3 Northeast teams are doing better than Tottenham, that's for sure. Quickly, we got to move on. We have got another game to talk about, obviously, for Newcastle, but we also got to talk about Sunderland because they also played midweek. It was a bad loss to Liverpool. No, I say bad. It was only 1-0. I watched the game, Teddy boy. It wasn't an ugly game. It was just one of those games where Liverpool would kind of sit back and I don't know. It's just, the possession would obviously end up in Liverpool's favour, but I still think that when Sunderland were on the ball, they used it better. The shots, though, I mean, you had 9 shots to their 22. A lot of their shots were wild, I must say, but it wasn't a game that I saw Sunderland too far out of. And I think obviously Liverpool haven't been in the greatest of form. You can argue with that. Sunderland still are doing fantastic things, obviously still without Xhaka. How did you make Sunderland's loss to Liverpool, mate?
Yeah, I felt it was Liverpool kind of did a bit of a job on us. They played like an away side, and I know that sounds like a bit of a weird thing to say, but yeah, they seem to kind of have the measure of us, and that hasn't happened too often. But when you spend, £500 million on your squad during the summer, that's probably going to happen. Like, you would expect them to beat a newly promoted side. I thought there was no lack of endeavour from us. I think you're right. I think we did use the ball pretty well. We weren't ruthless enough, I don't think. We still have that problem in that sort of sitting position of midfield, that Xhaka role, or formerly the Cloud Makaleli role. You need that quarterback to come and drop. For me, because Siddiqui was having to come back and do that role a little bit, it just felt like that Siddiqui for me is much better further up the pitch, like sort of alongside Diarra and giving some support up there. So it's that, as much as I don't want us to be a one-man side, when you lose somebody as influential as Xhaka, and Steve will know with the whole Bruno thing, the way that's panning out as well, it's a big miss, because you don't replace those sort of players very easily, not without spending mega money on that kind of thing. So it was a decent performance from us. I'm more annoyed, and I'm sure we are going to get onto Mr. Kavanagh sooner rather than later. So I'll open the can of worms, lads. Let's just empty it everywhere. So I have a professional referee apologise in the press for getting the penalty decision wrong, which should have seen Brian Brobby awarded a penalty. We could all see it. The new neighbours have now met me due to me screaming at the TV 11:30 at night. Our time, obviously.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. Honestly, right, it's one thing saying I got the decision wrong, but in the Premier League, you've got VAR. Why wasn't this picked up by VAR? Because honestly, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a Sunderland fan, as soon as I saw it, it's a stonewall penalty. I don't know how he's managed to mess that up. All right, he might just be human. It turns out he's not, because of yesterday's performance as well. But for VAR not to pick that up, I'm sorry, but this whole Big Six blind refereeing. They will absolutely give nout. It's somebody mentioned before about it almost feels like they don't want Northeast teams to do all right. It would have went against the narrative to have Liverpool equalised against, or it's mate, it was sickening, to be honest. And Chris Kavanagh, he not only needs his bank accounts checking, but he wants his back checking as well, because he must have a brown envelope in that pocket the size of I don't know, the size of something rather big, because it's ropey. It's ropey for me, and to get to see that decision with the handball yesterday. Yeah,
it's
honestly, the way that fits.
Look, let's get into it, because obviously Teddy Boy, he's come off the back of that performance against you. He's obviously had a shocking yesterday.
It wasn't just the penalty, by the way. He was absolutely diabolical the whole game.
Yeah. I mean, is there scope, do you think, in the Premier League, Ted? Obviously, with VAR, that's exactly what it was designed to do, is to take away the human error of it, so that we can get mistakes like this out of the game. We saw it now, not only with your game, but also yesterday, for goodness sake. I mean, there's got to be some sort of repercussions, right, Ted?
If Chris Kavanagh needed VAR for that decision yesterday, then I'm sorry, he's no good to be a professional referee. You can't have that. That was. I'm speaking from a red and white perspective here, and I will absolutely staunchly defend Newcastle on this. It was as blatant as you will ever see. I would have awarded that. I would have been wearing a red and white top, but I would have awarded it. It was just blatant. It's horrendous refereeing. How on earth the guy has actually made it this far into this kind of tier? But he's proven now in the last 2 games he is not fit to referee at that level. You can't make that sort of mistake. Whether it's a tough one whether you're going to have VAR introduced into. I get it with the early rounds of the FA Cup. It's difficult because it's not a level playing field. You can't have VAR at Maidenhead United, but have it at St James's. I get it, but
this isn't that level, is it, Ted? Do you know what I mean?
It's not, mate. A Sunday League referee, a Sunday League referee would have got that right.
Yeah. And there's so much money on the line, mate. There's so much money on the line, and you can't talk to me about it not being, you know what I mean? Because where you finish in that table, Ted. Whether this is 3 points that you could have lost that you turned into a point, which makes it from 10th to 13th. That is millions of dollars.
Well, it is, yeah, and
pounds.
Notwithstanding that, look, I don't mind getting beat 1-0 off Liverpool at home if it's a decent performance and it's warranted. But that, for me, it took the shine off it because, look, I've watched the absolute worst of the worst that Sunderland Football Club's had to offer in recent years and in years before that as well. So to get the chance to see Liverpool come to the Stadium Light, that's special for us, man. We've missed that kind of thing. That's huge for us. And to have it kind of tarnished by disgraceful refereeing when they've got the means to actually referee properly. It has. I agree. I think it has made the referees lazy and inept. I think it's too much of a safety belt. But when the safety belt isn't even working either, then you've got to question. You've absolutely got to question it. It's well dodgy. It really is well dodgy. And to see that yesterday, that's I'm sorry, but there's got to be a rabbit away there somewhere. Just to get those 2 decisions wrong completely in the way that he has. It needs investigating.
Steve, over to you, mate. Obviously, we saw a performance yesterday that was completely and utterly disgraceful, to say the least. I mean, what we saw yesterday come out of that game, mate, was just... I mean, it was laughable. And we should not be at that level laughing at our beautiful game because of a performance of a referee. And again, we question him on the back of what he did yesterday, but coming off that performance against Sunderland, and then he does that against Newcastle. I mean, it doesn't take a dumb fan to put 2 and 2 together. That there's, it's diabolical, Steve.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it, that we end up with Coventry yesterday, because I watched the Liverpool game and it was ludicrous. But yesterday was him reaching new levels of unfairness, and he wasn't solely to blame. The referee, yes, had a poor game, but the linesman was awful. No. I'll give Kavanagh the benefit of the doubt on the Digna penalty, because he was completely unsighted from the camera angle that was shown. His vision was obscured, so he couldn't give the decision. The linesman had a clear view of it, and the linesman didn't give it, and that's because the officials have become lazy due to the technology that they now use. They're not used to making decisions anymore. And, the linesmen, when there's no VAR, are clueless. They haven't got a clue what to do. So all round, poor officiating last night. Champions League, we've had better officials. We had one recently, of course, which wasn't great. And I think football fans once upon a time used to just get on the referee's back if the result didn't go their way. But now I think we're all a lot more clued up on the laws of the game and things, and we can see when things are going against us, But it's, as Chair says, the term linesman's outdated. And I mean, it's called referees assistant referee now, they're called, aren't they? But it's called a VAR spectator. Yeah, 100%. From our perspective, and it was the same linesman that missed the offside. Yeah, the offside, Tammy Abraham scores and he's a mile offside, and it's ludicrous. It really is. I don't think we should have VAR in the cup competitions at all. I understand they don't bring it into the cup competitions until later in the stages, because usually the non-league teams or the lower league teams are knocked out, and you're left with Premier League teams or Championship teams. That's basically what you're left with. So they bring VAR in at a later stage in the competition. I think that should change. I think it should. I think VAR needs a major overhaul. I think that referees need to have and referees' assistants need to have more control again. And I would have a major overhaul of the system, because it can't go on. And people say it balances it up for both sides, but you know, it is a business, right? You've made the point. You know, people are losing. You know, people lose millions through decisions that are made like this. You know, a team that finishes third bottom in the Premier League will no doubt have had VAR decisions go against them, which could have made a difference to their season. And it's ludicrous. Just give it back to the referees. Give the referees and the linesmen an opportunity to have some authority again, and let's just go back to that. Keep the goal line technology in, because the goal line technology works fine. But let's have a major and whilst we're on, let's look at some of the rules which also can be interpreted in more than one way. Handballs, we've seen it again. Handballs, it's ludicrous. You know, people if you're standing in the 6-yard box in front of the goal and the ball hits your hand, a la Jacob Murphy, a penalty's given. Even though there's no intention to play the ball, a penalty's given. If exactly the same situation happens to somebody who's standing on the far right of the box, not in front of the goal, and the ball hits his hand exactly like it hit Jacob Murphy, there's no penalty given. So that, you know, they need to sort it out, because it's just wrong, and it's spoiling the game for everybody. It really is.
No, I completely agree. Look, we could talk about this for days on end, I think, and it's been a shocking week. But again, good performances from Newcastle, great performance from Middlesbrough. Obviously, Liverpool have gotten over Sunderland, and obviously coming off the back. But I do think Sunderland will be able to turn their form around, I think. And it's not even poor form. If you did watch the games, even as a neutral, you could see Sunderland weren't poor form. It was just two teams in Arsenal and Liverpool that were able to, you know, just to take that chance, or one or two chances more. And obviously Sunderland are still reeling from Xhaka. We're going to be looking forward after this, but we need to sit back. We need to take a break. We need to have a laugh, not only at the referees, but we're going to have a laugh because it's time for Troll of the Week.
Okay, I've got a headline from the Daily Daffy. When I met Bonnie Tyler, she didn't want to go for coffee at Starbucks or Costa. He told friends, I think she was holding out for a Nero. You do like these lads, don't you? The Winter Olympics is on, lads. And Finland skier Remy Lindholm, he suffered a frozen penis at the Winter Olympics. He's missing the games this year, apparently. There's more crotch headlines than ever from the Winter Olympics. It's bizarre. It really is. Talking of things which I guess crotch. You can see the link, lads. This was in the Chronicle the other day. North East mum wore the same pair of tights for 19 years. Why is this a headline? It's the comments that are great. Paul Trainer says, I've had the same tie just as long. Keith Harrison said the year she bought them was roughly the same time the Chronicle ran a credible story. Anthony Lynn said, I knew a woman who had the same pair of knickers for 20 years. They looked brand new. Mind you, she dropped them every time she was out of my sight. And Steve Gunter said, imagine going to university for 3 years or more, dreaming of winning the Pulitzer Prize, but instead ending up writing about some old woman's tights. Classic that. It's still on the Chronicles Facebook, well worth a read. That one time Jesus turned water into Jack Daniels. And just incidentally, lads, I am selling this Valentine's Day hamper. If anyone is interested, if you can just drop us a message at the usual address. Speaking of Valentine's Day, I got these.
Oh my God.
For the missus.
Wow.
And Merseyside police have put an urgent announcement out. They can confirm that Everton England goalkeeper has been arrested for firearms offences. A spokesman said the 27-year-old has been arrested for being in possession of small arms. Haircuts have been the order of the day. Meet the City fan who isn't cutting his hair until they're clear of the 115 charges. And meet the manager who isn't getting his hair cut until they win the Premier League. And the West Ham fans, they definitely trolled the West Ham player. Sorry, definitely trolled Man U fan this week, who is well publicised. That's where all the hair jokes are coming from. They decided after that 1-1 draw with Man United that they would go and get their hair But fantastic. A note of caution to any YouTuber who goes outside a rival team's ground and tries to wind supporters up. West Ham are shit, she put up, and she got swilled by somebody walking past.
Oh, God.
Sunderland on the ball this week. Maybe not with a result.
Away.
I didn't realise Gerard Depardieu was a Liverpool fan.
Jesus Christ.
I know. Yeah, but Liverpool.
You wouldn't like to share your drugs with him, would you?
Definitely not. Sunderland safety. Congratulations, Liverpool FC fans. Our biggest haul of the season. They seized £856.90 cash, 112 vapes, 46 power banks, 3 smoke canisters, 4 walking sticks, and 56 umbrellas.
Oh my God.
Of course, it's Frank Chipper, lads. It's Frank Chipper.
Yes. Got me.
It was good, mate. It was good. Frank Chipper's been on great form.
He's on
great
form.
I love this from this SCFC fans' view. Is there a way you can find out the season ticket holders sat directly behind you have renewed tickets for 26-27? Because I can't put myself through another season of listening to them. And I was talking about the offside and Joe Willock's hair. We could have been 2-0 up if Joe Willock had looked like this. AI is a big talking point, lads. So I decided to put a restore my photo app on my phone, and I wanted to see what I was like as a kid. This was the result.
Wow.
And we do like a little food segment on here. South Shields win the best food of the week. Look at that, lads. Look at that delight, South Shields. Very good.
That is some scran. Oh my God.
They've done well. Good result yesterday, of course, for Newcastle United in the FA Cup. The whistle's only just gone, and he was straight in there. And as we've already talked about,
Booking.com.
Nottingham Forest, of course, sacked another manager. And of course, it's Maraquinas has eaten Sean Dice. They'll begin the hunt for a replacement straight away. Well, of course, they did find a replacement. I did like this. Went straight up. Sacked. What happens later in the week? How is it by 2028? Scientists estimate you'll never be more than 6 feet away from someone who managed Nottingham Forest during the 2026 season. New shirt sponsor for Manchester United. What did Eric Cantona think of it? And the last two this week. Waking up after the set to find you're a Subbuteo player. And if we ever get rid of Moyes, says Jay Winter, I hope to God we throw any money we've got at the fella who sits a few rows back from me. He's got the answers to any problems we'll come across in every game. We've all been there.
Yeah.
If you've got any tweets, send them to me, nufcmatters1892@gmail.com, or to the lads on their social medias so we can get the cat out.
Oh, well, that is fantastic. Welcome back to the Northeast, the only Northeast football pod, the Three's a Crowd, where we talk Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle every single weekend. We bring 3 teams, likely rivals, for a bit of banter and a bit of laugh, and we hope you're all fantastic and had a great week. We have looked backwards and we have laughed at referees, especially the one that is going to be a special guest on one of these podcasts coming up, because we all need to have a chat to him. And we're going to look forward now because we've got some massive games coming up. And Middlesbrough are kicking things off with a game against Coventry tomorrow night, lads. Monday night football for Middlesbrough in the Championship. It is going to be first v second in a game that I think we all can agree on is going to be massive for Middlesbrough's promotion credentials. Now, obviously, 3 points against Frank Lampard's Coventry will widen that gap, and it'll increase a little bit of faith in Middlesbrough fans that they're not going to typically borrow this up. Middlesbrough come against Coventry, who have lost 4 in a row, about 5 in a row now, and Middlesbrough won 6 in a row. The last time that Coventry actually won was against Middlesbrough away from home. They are obviously at the CBS Arena tomorrow, which is Coventry's home ground, and unfortunately, Middlesbrough haven't won there in It's incredible. I think it's 40 odd years. It's ridiculous. We haven't won there. Let's just keep it at that. And we have had a shocking record at the Coventry City Arena. So it's going to be an interesting game to see how Middlesbrough can do that, whether we can get rid of that typical Borougness, and also can we put on a performance against the team that we thought we were going to be chasing for the rest of the season. They have dropped their form. They have gotten signed Roman Esse. They've gotten signed a few other players as well from the Premier League on loan. Middlesbrough have obviously done their business as well. We might see the debut finally of Jeremy Sarmiento. But Teddy boy, I'll come to you. I mean, this one, Paul Merson said that this one, for both Middlesbrough and Coventry fans, if you had have said at this stage of the season when these two teams meet, if you had have said to both sets of fans that you'd be sitting first and second, you would have snapped your hands off for it. I completely agree, especially with the likes of Ipswich and Southampton and all that coming down. Now, obviously, we've seen Ipswich coming good as of late, but the likes of Southampton are doing shocking, and we saw Leicester get points deducted, so they're completely gone. I mean, they're third last. So, I mean, in a league that it has arguably been a little bit kinder this year, without the big boys of the Leeds, the Burnleys, obviously you guys who were playing fantastic as well last season, Middlesbrough v Coventry, first v second. I mean, this is crazy. And it's exciting. And it's exciting because Middlesbrough can open up a massive gap tomorrow night, Ted.
Yeah, I personally hope they do, because as Mr. Wraith knows, I have no love for Coventry City whatsoever, and he always looks for a point in the show where he can squeeze in a picture of Jimmy Hill just to get my insides boiling up again. Honestly, my bacon sandwich was nearly out there. Yeah, listen, man, it's going to be a cracking game. I'm actually really looking forward to watching this as well. I don't think it's not a foregone conclusion by any means. Coventry are in horrendous form. I get that. But like you said, they've got some really, really sound players in amongst that squad who will turn it around at some point.
Correct.
I just hope it's not tomorrow. I think it's kind of, you're catching each other. You're on the way up, they're on the way down. I've just got a weird feeling it's probably going to end up being a draw anyway. But this is a massive opportunity for Middlesbrough to make a statement. And it's a big test for Hellberg as well, because his approach to this game will say a lot about the kind of manager he is. And he's got some choices to make. Does he kind of rile everybody up and say, right, this is the opportunity, but we now cement the place at the top, we go X amount of points clear, or does he treat it just like any other game, like he has been doing in the past? And that's going to be the trick, is how to approach this. You can't go gung-ho and sort of go all out attack against Coventry City, because it doesn't work like that. The games that they've been beaten in have been teams that are lower down in the division, who get stuck into them and give them a bit of a scrap and give them a bit of a kicking as well. I felt when we got joy out of them in the playoff first leg, that it was exactly that. We were very physical and we hit them on the counter attack. And I wouldn't be massively surprised if that's the way Middlesbrough go for it as well. Because, like I say, they've got players who can hurt you. Their wing players very, very good. Their set pieces, they're decent because they've got a relatively physical big side among them. Ellis Sims, obviously no stranger to Sunderland, is somebody who's a good target man at that level as well, and he can cause danger. So it's going to be, bless you. It's going to be a huge test. I think Middlesbrough will come out of this on top, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is kind of the end of the season for Coventry City as well. They won't fancy the playoffs. They won't fancy it again. They've got to get an automatic promotion spot, or they'll bottle it. They will absolutely bottle it. So it's a tough one for them. Middlesbrough, the team in form, playing the better stuff. They've just got to be up for this physically, play it sensible, and hit them on the counter. And I don't see a problem for you.
Give us a prediction.
Oh, go on. I'm going to go 2-1 Borough.
2-1 Borough. That's it, my Teddy boy. Steve, obviously, massive game for Middlesbrough. We're going to look ahead against for Newcastle and Sunderland fans. Stick around. We're going to talk about them games very soon. But we just want to ask, is Middlesbrough going to be remaining top and opening up a gap in first position? Steve, the fortune teller, as I rub that beautiful bald head of yours for the best of luck, can Middlesbrough open up more of a gap tomorrow night against Coventry?
Well, I'm going to go for a draw, mate. I do think that it'll be.
Safe.
I do think it'll be a draw, and I'm going to go for Steve's prediction of 2-2. I do think it'll be goals. I do think Coventry will have a bit about them. Like I said earlier on, Coventry really do want, to go up like Borough do. Automatically. It's just such a tough thing, to expect Borough to go down and put in the graft and come away with 3 points in Coventry. I just think that Coventry have gone through a bad spell. Everyone goes through a bad spell in the Championship. The beauty of going through a bad spell in the Championship is if you can get through it, then you'll find that consistency again. I don't think I don't share Ted's views that Coventry have blown it. It's too early to say. So I'm going to go 2-2. I think you'll suit Borough more than it'll suit Coventry. It's going to keep that 2 point gap for you guys. And I think Borough will continue in the same vein after that. But anything, Borough just need to go down there and not get beat. And I don't know what your manager will do. Will he go gung ho and go for it? I think he'd be cautious. But I'm going to go 2-2. I still think you'll be happy with that. Keeps you above them. Anything else is a bonus, but just as long as you don't get beat, right?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And it's interesting as well. And I think one thing that Middlesbrough fans can rely on here is that Kim Hellberg, we trust him with all of our lives at the moment. That man is absolutely tactically beautiful. And he's got Middlesbrough playing the best football we've ever seen in some time. And I think Middlesbrough will be, well up for this one, thanks to Kim Hellberg and his coaching staff. It's going to be a massive game, Middlesbrough fans. Let's look ahead to Sunderland. Sunderland have FA Cup performance tomorrow. And then we will be talking about, obviously... So it's today. Sorry, it's today. It was tomorrow. It's 1 a.m. my morning. But so it's today.
It's not all about you.
It's an away game for Sunderland to Oxford United, who are very, very poorly struggling in the Championship. They have got their new manager in Matt Bloomfield. But Teddy boy, it's a 4th round appearance here. You would think, if all goes well, that Sunderland should get past Oxford, but we all know that football's not written on paper. If it was, then we'd all be millionaires. Oxford United at home, mate. Sunderland may be looking to change a few players around here, maybe give a few players like the likes of Chris Rigg and all this sort of stuff a bit more minutes, but you can't take Oxford United at home lightly.
No, not absolutely not. All 3 sides of their ground will be absolutely buzzing. It all depends on how seriously. I mean, Regis Labrice has said that he's taken the competition seriously. He's shown it respect. There will be some changes, of course. I mean, Alderete limped off against Liverpool, so he immediately will be rested for that. I think our Swedish keeper might get the nod ahead of Roofs, just to give him an opportunity to get some match practice. Roofs has obviously done absolutely nothing wrong. But just to kind of bed him in and get the new lad integrated within the squad, I think it may be an idea there. Some of the bit part players. I mean, we've seen little glimpses of Luke O'Nien throughout the season. There's a possibility he might take the place of Alderete in the back line. So there will be a couple of swaps around, like you say, Chrissy Rigg as well. I think Siddiqui took another bit of a whack. We've got to be careful there because obviously we're missing Xhaka for another 3 games, including this one today.
Yep.
So with someone like Siddiqui, we've just got to be careful with that and not risk him needlessly. Diarra, I think, will continue to play on the flip side of that, just as he gets some match sharpness back from, obviously, he had 4 months off prior to the AFCON tournament. So he'll continue. I think it's an opportunity for Mayenda or Isidore up front. I think we need to rest the ox that is Brian Brobby and just give him a little bit of a break. I mean, good grief, he absolutely ragged defenders all over again during the week. He's just superb. Listen, it's not one to take lightly. You're right. We've seen some impressive stuff from the teams in the lower lower leagues. In terms of this year's FA competition, anyway, thanks to West Ham for blowing my coupon yesterday. Let's treat it seriously. I think we've got to get stuck into them. They're going to give it as a, yes, they are fighting against relegation in the Championship, but they're going to want to scrap. They're going to want to bring it down to their level. And obviously, without VAR being present, they're going to try and get away with a few naughty things as well. Hence, it's great to have the likes of Luke O'Nien around the squad to be able to get into those dark arts and bring it down to championship level as well if we need to. And that's no disrespect against the championship. One thing I did want to mention as well, just prior to talking about the game, and obviously we've made mention of players like Luke O'Nien, Chris Rigg. Obviously, this is the first game we've had since Christian Speakman left the club, which was a bit of a surprise, to be honest with you, but in terms of the timing of it. But with Gazolfi coming in July, and I guess having two sporting directors or two football directors just wasn't going to work out. I've been very critical of Christian Speakman in the past, certainly in the League One days and some of the Championship days as well. I'm not going to sit here and pretend everything was absolutely perfect during the time that he had at the club. There was managerial choices that really split opinion. The Michael Beale thing. There was times when we should have signed experienced strikers. Maybe we didn't, or signed a bit of experience there. But all in all, we've been through what chaos looks like as Sunderland fans. We've seen short-term gambles. We've seen the bloated wages. You lads have as well. You've seen all that, where you get the journeymen who are just coming for one last payday. And Christian Speakman helped get rid of that. There was data-led signings. There was a young team with a real purpose, a real identity that he brought to the club. And obviously, a lot of those players are still there. Some of them we've moved on through great business decisions, the likes of Jack Clark, obviously, Joe Bellingham, possibly one of the greatest bits of transfer work ever. I would hate to buy Christian Speakman's house because he must be an arsehole of a negotiator to get past you know what I mean? But, listen, whether we agree with every call or not, he deserves a huge amount of gratitude from a fan base that didn't always give him, and me included in that. So, Christian Speakman, absolute job well done. Thanks for everything. I hope he goes on to the rumour is he might end up back at Birmingham, with them obviously looking to get out of the Championship and into the Premier League. Don't be surprised if he ends up at Tottenham, because for a club that's been identified as not having an identity and their transfer policy being all over the place, don't be massively surprised if he ends up in the Premier League somewhere like that. But the main thing today is getting the win against Oxford United. I fancy us for a cup run. Already with the result from Newcastle yesterday, I think Scotland Yard are already a little bit nervous that it could be a final between Weir and Tyne. That would be absolutely lovely.
Imagine
that would go on strike. But yeah, let's get into the next round of the cup. Let's enjoy the day. Good luck to everybody who's travelling down there. I know we're taking a good following, even though there's obviously only three sides of the ground. There might be a couple of double deckers. Just park up and watch the game for free anyway.
It's going to be interesting. Give us a prediction.
3-0 Sunderland, by the way. 3-0 Sunderland.
3-0 Sunderland. Steve, obviously, we've got to get on to Newcastle straight after this. They've got Qarabag in the Champions League. But before we get to that, give us a prediction, mate. Sunderland at Oxford United in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Sunderland. I can't see them having a problem down there, but I think it'll be slightly tight. I think Oxford will give a go. But yeah, 2-1 to Sunderland.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go a 2-0 victory to Sunderland. I just think Oxford United's form is shocking, and I think Sunderland will be too good for them. Let's look at the final game as we look forward. It is Newcastle taking on Qarabag FK in the Champions League. It is the first playoff leg of two. You will be away from home in this first game on Thursday morning, my time, but it's Wednesday night. See how I fixed it up there? It's not all about me, as someone keeps reminding me. And we will be looking forward to seeing if Newcastle can match their performance in the FA Cup. Obviously, the legs are running ragged, but I think we saw yesterday, Steve, that the likes of Tonali and all that sort of stuff, and Walter Mata, as frustrating as he's been, mate, can still perform on his day. And I still think you're going to get a result this week against Qarabag FK.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is an interesting game, only because it's so far to travel. First of all, for Newcastle, it's the new format of the Champions League, so there's these playoff games are home and away, something a little bit different. Fair play to the fans who will be travelling over there. I know quite a few of the lads are leaving on Monday. Just short of 2,000 tickets, all snapped up by Newcastle fans as usual. Can't transfer the tickets. Just to remind anybody who is in the chat who is thinking that they can't go now. The ground, here's a little bit of info for you, is named in honour of the Russian linesman from the 1966 World Cup final. So wow. There's a little bit of history and trivia for you. 4 league phase games there this season. So Karabag beat Copenhagen by Leverkusen and draw with Chelsea and lose to Ajax. United see the status ensures that we've got home advantage. Of course, that's the reason that we've got home advantage. Away from home in the league phase, Karabag won 3-2 at Benfica, lost 3-1 at Bilbao, lost 2-0 at Napoli, and lost 6-0 at Liverpool. So, for me, going there, the key really is not to get beat. A bit like Borough going to Coventry. Newcastle just need to go there, do what they've done in all the other Champions League games, to be fair. Set up quite defensively and catch them on the counter. I think we'll beat them away from home. I think the tails are up after 2 away wins. I think we'll make it 3 away wins. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be a 1-0 win for Newcastle. Karabag have just beaten Ismail, or Ismizli, however you pronounce it, 1-0 yesterday. They have also sold a striker who has scored a couple of goals in the Champions League. He went in the transfer window. He's off to Columbus Crew, Naraman Akunzada. It's an interesting one. Newcastle should have Joe Linton back as well, which will be a positive. We'll find out, of course, at the press conference when they arrive, whether there's any more injuries to worry about. But Lewis Miley wasn't far away at the weekend. Joe Linton will definitely be back midweek. Miley probably could be back for Man City next weekend. But yeah, all in all, if there's a clean bill of health other than those who we know are out, then I expect Newcastle to win 1-0.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm going for a Newcastle win 2-0, Teddy boy.
Well, I've always been a massive fan of Karabag throughout the ages. In fact, some would even say I've been a Karabag for life. I'm sorry. I can only apologise how crap that was, but
yeah,
I'm not sorry. Yeah. I tell you what, they've actually been a bit of a surprise package in the Champions League, which is nice to see. You know, it's not always the same old faces every single time. Having said that, I think Newcastle are just a bit too strong for them. I love it when Geordie tries to pronounce foreign names. You should hear the Australian then.
Who's the manager at Chelsea?
Léon Rosenois.
Still can't get it. Honestly, not only does he butcher English, but he butchers French as well.
It's French for rose wine, isn't it?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's actually Black Rose. That's where Rose Noir is Black Rose. Yeah, there you go.
Bless you,
anyway,
by the way.
Yeah. Thank you for attending our TED Talk. Yeah, you see what I did there? Anyway, back to the football. Listen, I can only see Newcastle win this, even without Bruno. I think there's just a little bit too much about them. Obviously, Voltemada getting back on the score sheet is going to be massive for him as well. Listen, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win for the Geordies, I think, on this one.
Ooh-wee. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The predictions are in. We've looked back. We've looked forward. We've had a laugh at Troll of the Week. We've had a laugh at Mr. Kavanagh, the referee, who's had an absolute blinder this week. Thank you for your support on the Northeast. And it's been a fantastic pod. We are done. Once and all, we have got another podcast in the bag, but we've got to thank each and every one of you out there for tuning in and liking, supporting, subscribing, commenting. Absolutely fantastic. You keep the chat flowing. We do apologize that we don't read some of the comments. We do look back at them, though, and we have a laugh. If you are watching this back, make sure you leave some comments below. We do read them. We send them to each other in the WhatsApp, so we make sure that they answer them. If you've got a question for myself, Steve, or Ted, in respective to any of the clubs, any of the questions, but make sure you leave a comment down below, and we'll make sure we'll get into them as well, and we'll answer them as sure we can throughout the week, or if if not on the YouTube comments. We love each and every one of you. We thank you so much. Good luck to the Sunderland fans if they are going to the Oxford game. Good luck to the Champions League journeymen for Newcastle. And, of course, good luck to all the Borough fans that will be travelling to Coventry tomorrow night to watch Middlesbrough hopefully stay at the top of the league. It's been a massive week for the North East. The football continues, and it's coming thick and fast. And in a few short months, we may have all three Northeast teams back in the Premier League. Can you believe it? I can't. It's just mind-baffling. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. From Steve, Ted, and myself, it's bye for now.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.